Welcome, everyone, and welcome back to Bobble Pod. My name is Manny Singh. I'm the CEO of Bobble Digital. Today, I am glad and excited to announce that we have a guest on our podcast, Adam Oldfield. Welcome, Adam.
Hi, Manny. How are you doing?
Today's podcast is about customer engagement and acquisition. We're going to be talking now about a little bit about AI and how it's shaking up the digital space, but also some key trends in 2023 and really getting Adam's input onto this. But before we begin, as I always say, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, click on the bell notification and subscribe button, and hello YouTube, as I always say. It's good to have you on board. So, Adam, first of all, tell us who you are and introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm Adam Oldfield. I'm the CEO of Force24. I started Force24 in 2010 and had been running digital media agencies since 1998, which was when we were using Windows 95, 98, good old fashioned Microsoft Access databases, and life was easy back then. And so now in 2010 created Force24, and Force24 has gone on to become what is now the fastest growing UK based marketing automation platform. And we are actually one of the largest UK based ESPs in the UK. So good times.
Oh, well done. And even I remember 95, but I think I was still doing my dissertation at university at that time. So when did you start Force24, and what has that journey been like to date? Just tell me a little bit about that.
Sure, yeah. So I think it's an interesting story. So I started in 2010. I just exited my last agency. So I was in a good place to start a business, but it was born out of a need. So I often tell people about this sort of vision. Where did the name come from? Where did the idea come from? And it was this sort of really strange injection of information into my head. I know I could get into sort of the ethereal realm here, but it's actually true. So I had this really sort of vivid vision of what I wanted to create next. And it was actually, I thought I'd invented marketing automation in 2010. It really wasn't a big thing. There wasn't many people really talking about it. And I had this need in my mind, and it was all centered around how we tie up digital engagement to CRMs. So, we've got CRMs with everybody's contact details in, and sales guys are working those CRMs and blah, blah, blah. And you got the website, and it's two totally unconnected things. Neither does the information in that CRM power the outbound engagement through email, SMS, whatever it may be. But also, more importantly, every single touch that's left on the website is left unattended and is locked within Google Analytics. And I wanted that information surfaced so we could do cool stuff.
So when we first invited you along to be a guest, we talked about different elements we could discuss about. And one thing that really runs true is customer engagement and acquisition, which is something that, again, Force24, the world that you work in and digital and I work in, that was something that really, really proficient. One thing we want to talk about is how can businesses protect themselves from what is now in a difficult economic situation, rising paid media costs?
Yeah, so we've been watching this one for a long time, and it's really played into the hands of platforms like Force24, and it's my belief that obviously we know Facebook and Google and Meta, are not putting the prices up. It's all about marketeers lowering expectations and moving towards lower forms of engagement as a goal. In the old days, you used to put an advert out there and you'd expect people to buy from you or inquire, and then as time's gone on, it's the lower the engagement. Now that plays into the hands of automation because it's all about protecting and nurturing contacts through a buying cycle and really assuring that works.
Just explain that. When we say, we come up with a lot of acronyms. When we say lower engagement, what are you exactly saying by lower engagement?
Yeah,
you're talking more top of the funnel, essentially.
Yeah, I'm talking
first point of contact.
Correct. Yeah. So if you think about it, my most profitable orders come from the top of the funnel, which I've nurtured through. We know that retaining customers is more cost effective than finding new ones. We know that. And so what we're doing is we're essentially influencing the argument much earlier on, but the traffic that is at that top of the funnel state is much cheaper and there's much more of it. So these are contacts that are prepared to just join your mailing list or prepared to get your 10% discount or prepared to get whatever it is that you've said, hey, when they've arrived at the site, hey, why don't you get in touch? Why don't you leave some piece of information? And that data for me right now is about really taking that, understanding that data, watching what the traffic does, what they're looking at, putting them in interest groups, retargeting them digitally and through direct channels, obviously.
Yeah.
And automation is a key player in that argument. If you want to take a contact and you want to nurture them, and I actually got the dictionary definition of nurture. It's such a geeky thing to do, but it's to protect and encourage somebody while they're something whilst it's growing. And I thought, wow, that's a really inspired name, because that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, because when we look at it from a digital marketing perspective, every time we do a strategy, once we've done the customer analysis, the competitor analysis, the customer analysis, and the audience profiling, we then go back to, when the strategy starts, is that funnel. And I have a really good diagram, and if I can get it shared on the YouTube side, I'll show it. It's ideal customer, whether it's B2B or B2C, doesn't really matter. And how there's multiple touch points, there's an arrow with different touch points, then website visit, then multiple touch points before conversion.
Yeah.
And this is something we have to explain to not just our clients, but to businesses in general. A lot of customers expect that when you go on Google, when you go on Facebook and you start doing all these ads, that's it, a conversion happens instantly.
Yeah.
We had an example with a client that just launched in January. It was refurbished iPhones, and they didn't see a sale for 7 days, but there were changes we need to make with the website elements, but the add to basket value was around about £20,000. So obviously it was like a little concern at the time, but I was like, it will come. You just need patience, you need to understand, right? Different messaging, retargeting will come into play. Then we have to look at the acquisition model in terms of what was working, why people get into basket but not completing. What was it? Was it the shipping cost? Was it delivery times? There's so much different data that comes out. And because I always feel like businesses really need to understand that marketing and digital marketing plays a key part of that customer engagement and acquisition. However, there's so many other elements that have to work well for it to be a really good transaction. You can have the best, you could know your audience, you could have the best ad and have, the best campaigns running. But if the website isn't optimized to convert, or you've got issues with the delivery, or you've got bad reviews or something and people are hesitant, or you're new to market and you haven't got that brand awareness, all these elements are going to play a part into people trusting and buying directly from you.
Yeah.
So you're all about working harder in the later stages of the acquisition funnel. Which,
well, it is that, and it is, I call it the marketing gray funnel. And the marketing gray funnel. So you've got a sales team, right? And your sales team has got a really well-defined funnel. Yeah. So they get a lead, and after they've got a lead, they then need to have the first engagement. After the first engagement, they've got to then move to commercials or whatever. Commercials, it's the pitch and whatever. So sales teams have got a funnel, right? And everybody knows what it looks like. And whereas marketing teams, very rarely do we go in and meet marketeers, and we support over 6,000 marketeers in the UK. Very rarely do we talk to a marketeer and say, what does the funnel look like? And so what I call that is the gray marketing funnel that nobody understands. And it's because the likes of Google Analytics are obviously asset based, and they do stitch the journey together. But we're not looking at the contacts as individuals as we do in sales. And so therefore it's very difficult to categorize those stages. But once you start to look at those contacts as individuals, you can look at what it is that individual needs to nurture them. And this is obviously what automation's about. It's bringing, marketers work with lists, right? Lists and assets, pages and whatever. Salespeople work with people. Automation expands that reach of people so that marketeers can work with lists of people, but the automation's working at a person-by-person level. So it's deciding next best action within these marketing funnel categories. It's quite a deep subject. We could probably do a whole podcast on that one thing.
And we might even have to get you back to go into a lot more detail on it. But I love it. I'm fascinated by it. I'm a bit of a like data, insights nerd, as most people might have guessed on the podcast in terms of the stuff I've talked about, the detail I go into, and how we support it, obviously with like a blog post, etc. But that's really, really, really important. It's good to know that. You talked about how AI is going to shake up the digital space. There's something that we highlighted. So tell me, like I did a podcast previously about ChatGPT in business and marketing. So I can see how AI is going to help support from a digital marketing perspective. But from a customer engagement, acquisition, and a model of what you do, how is AI going to shake things up?
It's gonna absolutely blow the doors off things. If you asked me this question, in fact, I was asked this question regularly in 2022, and my answer was, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a great analogy for how ChatGPT has sort of opened my eyes and how it's continuing to open the world population's eyes to how AI can support. And I say it's man plus horse. Okay.
Yeah.
So, thousands of years ago, we tamed horses. Okay. And we rode horses, and that enabled us to get from point A to point B much quicker. Now, the absolute amount of time needed for man to ride quickly from point A to point B was probably not that much different for man to just walk from point A to point B. But when he sat on his horse, he got there much quicker. Now, this talks to the fact that the horse needs training, it needs feeding, it needs bedding, it needs everything. A new horse can't be ridden for first 10 years of its life. And then actually the amount of absolute time is massive. So for me, the benefit is when you get on that horse, you get to point B quicker. Right. Now, ChatGPT's come along and people are expecting, I don't need to train this horse. I don't need to feed this horse. This horse is just going to know my answers and I'll get from point A to point B really quickly. And that is not the case. So my point at this particular juncture of the AI evolution is you've got to know what your part of this training argument is. So marketeers right now are expecting one day to just AI to know everything. Well, that's hive mind. That's never going to happen, because that means that you've got no competitive advantage over your competitor. You are just in the mix with everybody else. We all ask ChatGPT the same question. We get a different answer. Get the same answer. That's not how it's going to work. It's going to be based on training, and that training is my job today is to start getting my data in shape, is to be starting to tag things. So the day that I can ship data into ChatGPT, and bear in mind, right, there is a race of many horses in this particular AI challenge, of which ChatGPT is a long way ahead. And actually it doesn't feel like it's going to be, it feels like it's got that first mover advantage, and it's winning.
I feel like it is, because when I talked about this in my previous podcast, is how obviously Bing and Microsoft have invested into it significantly. They were part of OpenAI at the beginning. They've just put another £10 billion into it. It's going to get integrated into Teams, and what that means for just leveling the playing field and how people could be smarter about it, but also from a marketing perspective in terms of like that whole customer engagement acquisition, that AI element, and knowing what message to put out and understanding how to profile that audience. But again, you're right. The OpenAI ain't going to know that until you feed what that data element is to begin with. Correct. And I talked about this in my previous podcast about how that's the way the cookie crumbles, because we know that actually third-party data and cookies are become an issue. You're going to have to rely more on first-party data. You're going to have to focus more on contextual and demographic targeting opposed to behavioral. So that level of data tracking and capturing your first-party data, as well as working with platforms like ChatGPT, is where the game changing happens, is where you get a competitive advantage, because it's you and your data and you working with ChatGPT, which I think they need to change the name, by the way, against someone else as a competitor and their data working with ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is going to give different responses based on what you feed it. Exactly. So not everybody going to put in right now. Yeah, you can put a question in and it's going to tell you what to do and how you can do it. But if you really want to understand messaging, communication, acquisition, and customer engagement, then you need to look at your actual acquisition, your actual customer engagement, what works, what doesn't work, and then feed that into ChatGPT, who will then look at that data a fraction of a second compared to what you could do, then spit out better responses for you to help you to get from A to B
quicker. And you know what, Manny, this is going to be a great day where you can sell somebody your ideology through a ChatGPT JSON input or whatever, and all of a sudden your personality is installed in that person's, ChatGPT. I can't wait for that day. But we're all about right now, I think automation as a product is all about first party data. So as the world evolves, We are the guardians into the first party data set. We have the relationships with the CRMs. We have the relationships with the customers. We are the ones that can marry up that digital plus first party plus campaign activity into ChatGPT, into AI, and actually start to harvest some really useful insight. But again, you're still the other part of the analogy with the man plus horse. The horse doesn't go to the shops for you. You ride the horse to the shops. So the marketeer is the one that will always drive it. And with great power comes great responsibility.
Hashtag Marvel.
So the point is that, AI will always need a driver.
Yeah.
It's not that, I think we can get from point A to point B quicker, but marketers will need to bleed out into different areas to make sure that point A to point B happens quickly, not ineffectively or inaccurately.
So focus on trends then within that customer engagement acquisition for this year. What do you see the key trends being for 2023?
Well, for me, it's not changed. It's where, the key trends are always going to be get marketeers out of the weeds, get them out of execution and get them into content. The reality of it is we meet marketeers where they are 100% focused on reporting. They won't do anything unless they can report on it.
Yeah.
And the output that they actually produce is pretty weak, but they can report on every aspect of it. And they kind of think that they can find their way through. We then find marketeers that are more interested in creative with no reporting. So therefore, nothing is really traceable. But for me, it's about having that blend of how I use my time. And this is what marketers need to get their head around this. In 2023, but the same as forever. 70% of my time needs to be spent on content. Right, that's what your in-house.
Why 70%?
Because I want the rest of it on 15% on execution, 15% on reporting. So reporting and execution should be largely automated. It should be largely formulated. The most part of my time is understanding data and building content to serve to that data. We have to stop this world of it's Tuesday, we'll send an email, or we need a social media post. We're just throwing anything together. That creates noise, and noise hurts the industry. We need to have quality, high value content delivered at every touch to our customers through social media, through paid, through email, through whatever channel it is. Has to be good. Netflix doesn't pump out junk.
Yeah.
It pumps out good quality content. It might not be to your taste, might not be to my taste, but somebody likes it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't see the stuff I don't like because it segments me and it understands me and it shows me what I want. Marketeers need to do this.
When you look at it from that point of view, you'd basically look at the fundamentals of key platforms like LinkedIn and Meta and Instagram and all these elements, because it is just they could just spat out lots of noise to your feed and what you see into the reels and stuff you watch. But no, they know so much about you. They're only going to show you what they think you want to watch based on what everything they know about you. And that's the fundamentals of what is top of the funnel marketing in terms of customer engagement acquisition.
Yeah.
It is. And I always say it to our clients, that's why we do that whole audience analysis. Who are your customers? Where are they? What are they doing? What are their likes, habits? How much time is spent in mobile? What social channels are there? Then right, we know which channels to target. We know kind of content to target. Let's go do it. Then it's refining that process and getting better and better and better.
You know what, Manny? When I hear people talking about the LinkedIn algorithm, I mean, the SEO argument is totally different, but let's talk about the LinkedIn algorithm for a moment. It's trying to do is your job for you. And all it's trying to do is say, these people will really like that content. And if you're not getting many views, you're not getting many likes, it's because what you've done is pretty weak. And even even LinkedIn was like, nah, it's pretty lame.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be bothered about that. But obviously we've got to understand the fundamentals of how to structure a post so that it can actually use that data and place it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just doing a job for you. It's just there to do a job, but it's doing it for the recipient of the data, not for the marketeer. Supporting both parties to an extent, but it's mostly for me in my feed.
So key takeaways from that is focus more on content, less on the actual reporting elements of it. I like that 70-15-15 model. I think that's great because all our reporting is automated. All the data pulls from is API'd into it. We've got our own processes in place because I'd rather spend more time on actually doing the work on strategy and the content, coming up with new text ads, headlines and creative messaging and testing new things and new channels compared to actually spending all that time. I was like, well, reporting, analysis. It's like, well, the data is there already in graphs for you to read. It's just, how accurate is that data? What's working, what's not working? Any last bits of advice you'd like to say before we wrap up?
I think as well, just to touch on that final stage about reporting is, reporting is marketers need to get their funnel nailed. We need to understand what our funnel looks like. And I don't mean which pages I go from. Yeah, of course I've got to understand that. What I mean is I've got to define what it is that I want people to do when people arrive at my site. Do I want them to first step identify themselves? And it does, it's coming up with those same stages that the sales team have got.
Yeah.
That all contacts should go through some sort of identification process. Next, they'll go through some sort of nurture process. And let's consider the whole marketing piece, not just the website.
Yeah.
How does everything play to the same thing that I'm trying to do? How's my email supporting my paid? How's my social media supporting my email? How's everything working together harmoniously to get people through the funnel?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. A lot of touch points on that podcast. Absolutely really really insightful, from the grey funnel to the horse analogy, which we'll definitely use and create a snippet from that one, all the way to the 17-15-15 split. So thank you, Adam, for coming. It was a pleasure having you. I know I've been trying to get you on this podcast for a while. So I appreciate you coming in and doing that. I'd like to thank everybody who's listening to this podcast. We hope you found it useful, engaging, and most importantly, educational. Don't forget to send your questions in at Bobble Digital using the hashtags Mr. Bobble or Ask Bobble or hashtag Bobble Pod. And don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and we'll catch you on our next episode. Thank you very much.